Hey boys, I'm back. We've got another Barbarian video here for you. So this one here, we're actually using dual dreams. So I've built this off my Zeal Tesla Barb video originally. I read some of your guys' feedback and comments, and I thought, hey, let's try and make a variant of this and run it with Whirlwind this time and see how that works. So this is going to be using, obviously, the dual dreams, and then we're going to be using Whirlwind. So let's just get into the skills, stats, gear, and then see what Niraj is doing, because we all love Niraj. Now, we've got strength is base 142, dexterity is 55. We do need to reach 104 because we are using a Highland Blade, which I'll get to in a second. Vitality base is 338. What other stats we got relevant here? Whirlwind attack rating is not too shabby. It's good enough for us. Lifesteal, we've got 17 lifesteal, 9% mana steal, so that's enough sustain when using Whirlwind. If we're going down a bit further, we have 50 open wounds, 68 crushing blow, 33 deadly strike, and then we've got 17 lightning skill damage and minus 13 res down the bottom. So let's go over to our skills for today. We've got Whirlwind is maxed out. We're not using Berserk today. Combat masteries, we're using swords, so obviously max out that mastery. 1-point wonders, I've got some extras in Iron Skin because they're left over. That's about it. Now war cries, I've got one down into battle cry just for the occasional utility. And then I've maxed out shout, and I've maxed out battle orders, one into battle command. So, why not? We'll show Niraj. Alright then, Niraj. Andes, fortitude, and an infini. He's rocking an infini with might aura. Now, let's move on to our gear. So, obviously, 2 dreams, but instead of a crescent moon, ladies and gentlemen, we're running a Kingslayer. Why are we running a Kingslayer and not a crescent moon? Now, if we did run a crescent moon, the only useful mods for us on here would be ignores target defense, obviously the minus enemy lightning res, and the open wounds for damage output, right? The chain lightning and static field, the CTC skills are actually redundant when using Whirlwind, because that would be fucking broken, let's be honest. But the Kingslayer here I found was actually a cool and quirky option to use. I'm not one to use Grief, guys. I know there's going to be a few people in the comments to say, oh, use Grief, it's better damage and blah, blah, blah. I'm never going to use that. You're never going to see me using Grief on my builds. It's too mainstream for me. And I don't like it. I feel like it minimizes the amount of options, right? Because it honestly is fucking primo. It's hard to really compete anything with Grief. So I like to take it out of the equation for my testing and theory crafting, and really just try a whole bunch of other stuff and see what else works, you know. So I found that Kingslayer was a great option. Now this is a weird one for sure. I know it's in a Highland Blade base, which like nobody makes. Now, the reason why I have it in a Highland Blade is because the Whirlwind skill, it gets the attack speed calculation from the weapon itself. So it takes the base weapon speed plus whatever mods are on it, and that's all you get. So if you have, like we're running High Lords here, the attack speed is irrelevant. It doesn't help us reach higher frames with the Whirlwind skill. So with the Kingslayer, it gives us plus 30, and plus 30 on a Highland Blade specifically is the highest damage weapon that we can still reach the highest frames. So we can still reach the same frames as a phase blade. So some of you are probably thinking, why is he not using a phase blade? We can still reach the same frames, but with a Highland Blade. So it's basically free physical damage if we make it in a Kingslayer, and it looks kind of cool. So why not take the free damage? It gives us a bit more sustain, ladies and gentlemen. Nice and nice. Now, it does give us +1 to Vengeance, which is kind of helpful for this build. So I found that using other items like this plate here, which I'll get to in a second, with, you know, minus lightning and plus lightning skill damage, it buffs up our Vengeance. So that we've got at 46. Also, with using Vengeance, that allows us to kind of freely put points in maxing Shout, and then my leftovers in Iron Skin, so we don't have to worry about using Berserk and decreasing all of our defense down. Now, moving on with gear. Dual Dreams, pretty standard, I covered that. High Lords is pretty standard. We've got String of Ears as standard. We've got Ravenfrost as standard. For gloves, we don't have attack speed here because it's irrelevant, but I've just got Dual Leech, and mainly the Crushing Blow is quite important. And along with Crushing Blow, we're prioritizing that here with the boots on Goblin Toe. So I've got Dual Leech ring there just to kind of pair that off. Now, for the chest, I've got this with 4 facets in it. I know they're not perfect. I'm not, you know, sweaty rich. I don't deal on D2 JSP and all of that. but this was good enough for me. And honestly, you can see my damage there is 43. If I swap that out with my fortitude from my mercenary, my damage is actually not that great. It's actually 41.68. So if I go back to the lightning and let the holy shock reapply, it's actually more damage in total. And also the sheet damage doesn't take into account the minus lightning res from here. So I'm like, fuck it. That's more damage. Let's go with that. Obviously, you would leech more because your physical damage would be higher with the fortitude. But hey, this is a lightning build, so that's what I'm going with prioritizing. Now, the rest of the gear, we've got Annihilus, Hellfire, random assorted charms, guys. These are not perfect here edited stuff, whatever we got. Now, I've got I've got 2+3 axes here just to buff up. And then I do also have the Crescent Moon, as I briefly showed before. So I'll play around a bit with the Kingslayer first. I'll swap out the Crescent Moon to give you guys a comparison. And then one option we can do is to swap out the shield and run the Crescent Moon in conjunction with the Kingslayer on dual wield. So let's go over to, what is another place we can kind of test out? Let's go to Inner Cloister. So let's buff up myself and Niraj before we go. He must be pretty keen today because his Might Aura is active. So he's at 76 and that bumps us over just over 5k, which is cool. Oh, Spirit Mask. Don't mind me, I'm just going to check this real quick. That's exciting. Worth it. So nice physical immunes here. Get wrecked because we are lightning damage. Whirlwind Tesla Barbarian. Obviously, it's not the most optimal, right? A lot of my theory crafting builds, they're not going to be high player count, super high like player count clearing stuff. It's really hard to compare and to come up with especially new builds in a game that's been out for like 20 years. But I still like to find uncommon ways to play with items that are, you know, somewhat decent and usable. So let's get rid of this amp damage and see if we can find some more density out here. Get rid of that tower. I think a cool place we can go to is the Canyon of Magi has some better density. So I'll just run over there and then I can swap out Crescent Moon and show you guys how that works. Loading screen, McGee. Thank you, God bless. Here we are, that's a bit better for density. With the Crushing Blow and the other mods that Kingslayer gives, I found it performed better overall than the Crescent Moon. Oh, yucky, it's a mana burn. So let's use Vengeance on that one. Boom, boom, boom. Nice, kind of cool to use. Swap out Crescent Moon, so now we don't have that there, but instead we can use Conch if we want. Run up here, let's find some more density. So this is Crescent Moon, so we've got an extra minus 35 lightning res. You still can clear, it's still fine. Remember, we still have Crushing Blow on other pieces of items, so this absolutely is the word I was looking for. It absolutely is viable. And it's quite cool too, having that extra minus 35 res. Like if you can't afford the facets and you wanted to build something like this, well I mean like if you can get the dual dreams and you can't afford the cheap facets there, then what the fuck's going on? But I mean like instead of the plate, if you wanted to swap the plate out and use the Crescent Moon, you can absolutely do that. You've got other options such as Duress is a cheap one, so that gives you more Crushing Blow, a little bit of ED and also some resistances too to cover you on that. Not too bad there, the Crescent Moon. But what I'll do is I'll swap that out, so our main hand is going to be Kingslayer. And then we've got, in our offhand, is Crescent Moon. What we can do is actually run into the tombs over here, and there should be pretty packed, hopefully. Hello, boys. Do some decent damage with both of them, I've found. I do like running it with the dual dreams. That was my priority going into theory crafting this. But this is absolutely viable too. So again, that's Kingslayer in the main hand, Crescent Moon on the offhand with minus 35. Still running the same chest. And we're only running the one dream at the top. Oh, not through the doorway. Up here. There we go. Not too bad. Alright, let's clear out this last room, eh? Oh, finish it off with a ring. What a treat, boys. Should we have a look? Wowee, that's superb. I think we'll finish up the video there. Doesn't need to be a long one again. But yeah, this is a Tesla Barb, but with Whirlwind. So this is a Whirlwind Tesla Barb. So there is different weapons you can try. I found that Kingslayer is nice to utilize the Vengeance, and you know, when we're amping up the lightning damage, gets an extra bonus there. But don't forget about Crescent Moon. I'm not neglecting him. It's definitely cool. Definitely cool. I think it works best when dual wielding it with something else, such as Kingslayer, or if you want to use a Grief, if you want to use something like a Death, then you can hit definitely harder with that for sure. But I think we can end the build there. Make sure you guys check out my Twitch if you haven't already, and I'll also leave the Discord down below, so if you guys want to check that, because we have ladder coming out soon. Yeah, boy.